What do you see? Some people see a photograph. Some others might see a painting. Some see a photograph that might have some painting on top of it. But if you look really closely at those little lines over there, they're all individual straws. Each and every one of those, a decision that someone took that they felt they really needed a piece of plastic to help them drink something out of a cup. What you don't see is the amount of work it took to bring it to life. We collected 168,000 plastic straws over the course of 8 months with the help of hundreds of volunteers. We had to collect them, organize, clean them, sort them, and convert them into an art installation. And I needed the help of hundreds of volunteers because I don't know how to build anything. I take pictures and come up with weird ideas. That's how that came to life. But what you really don't see is the person behind the art. And I'm not talking about Wong, the artist, that we can see. I'm talking about Ben, person that creates these things because of something that I think comes from a very deep-seated place of fear. And in my case, that fear is the fear of irrelevancy. Now, we've had a lot of trauma talk, Jason, looking at you. And everyone says, hey, you got to look back to your childhood. So I figured let's take a little detour to my childhood, just for fun. You know, when I was young, I really wanted to be different. I wanted to stand out. Unfortunately for me, I was a little bit of a stereotype. See, I did martial arts, about 10 years of martial arts. I also played the violin, another 10 years. On top of that, I was even good at math and physics. I mean, what more could you ask for from an Asian Canadian guy? It's exactly what you would expect. And as I got older, nothing really changed. It's just as bad. My dad, ooh, can't really see that, but my dad was an engineer. I ended up becoming a hard rock mining engineer myself. And so I just kind of stayed there. I didn't really know what to do with myself. I didn't know where to take my art. I didn't have an art form at the time. And it took me a while, but after a nice little breakup, I discovered this little thing, camera. And with that came access to so much of the world, and access to events that I would never be invited to. I could suddenly go backstage. I could talk to people. I could talk to girls. I had an excuse. I had something to offer. And so it was very, very fun. One day I decided that I was going to quit my day job as an engineer. It wasn't because I wanted to be an artist. I just didn't want to be an engineer anymore. And I didn't believe that being an artist was something that I could do. So much so that when I walked in to say that I was quitting, I asked if they could fire me instead because I really wanted that unemployment check. They didn't give it to me. They laid me off instead. I laid myself off instead. And I even came up with a plan B just in case. That was to go get an MBA, go back to school. So I had studied for my GMAT, got that paper. Had a plan C, go back and be an engineer. So many plans just in case. But it turns out that I was a pretty decent photographer, and it was actually kind of easy to do the kind of work that I wanted to do. I was creating things that were pretty fantastical, surreal. I had the opportunity to travel the world, meet cool people, collaborate, do really cool things. It was really fun. And within 6 months of quitting my day job, I had my first viral success when I decided to tie a model 30 meters underwater in a shipwreck in Bali. And this thing went viral. I mean, this was back in the time where Facebook still had trending. I was trending for 24 hours. I got picked up by all these big art blogs, Bored Panda, BuzzFeed, Laughing Squid, all these other thingamajigs. And for a while, it was like I made it. I was suddenly seen. I could be seen. I was heard. I was relevant. I mattered. Thought I did. What I had figured out was this formula. Essentially, if you had a great headline, something that you could whip out in a bar, if you had an interesting journey of how you got there, and if you had a decent result, people would talk about you. And so I just kind of replicated that same formula over and over again, whether that was putting superheroes on the edge of a 40-story skyscraper, or while I was in Austria, Valerie, I don't know if you've ever been, Chief-Edmont, the largest monastic library in the world, we decided that it would be fun to try to recreate a real-life Beauty and the Beast. And I was so good at getting things seen that eventually I managed to get paid to do what I do, and not just any kind of payment. This was a campaign that I did for Huawei, at the time I think the second or third largest cell phone company in the world. Today they're banned in the US. They were trying desperately to penetrate the North American market, and how convenient that I was an Asian, stereotypical Asian, but that could do good art. And they thought that they could make use of that. And so I was paid to do this more than my entire career combined to that point. But there was a little bit of a problem with my success. And I didn't realize this at the time. I thought that it was a byproduct of my skill, my talent, my work, that I was able to get seen and heard. But I forgot about one tiny piece, is that I happened to be very, very lucky. I was at the right place, at the right time, with the right skills, specifically with the right algorithms. You see, this was a time of clickbait. You know, remember those annoying things that you would click on and be like, what the hell it got me here? Yeah, I was one of those people, but I actually created some content, some soul behind it. And it just so happened that at the time, that was trendy. So I attributed a lot of my success to skill. And yes, the work is good, but it was also luck. And you see, the thing about algorithms is that they change over time. And with these algorithms, the world changes. And with the world, so does the content. And so let's maybe do a quick little vignette on one of these trends. Let's call it the Instagram effect. You know that effect when you kind of dive in and you're like, oh, hey, this is something cool, but I think I've seen it before. It looks very familiar. At the end of the day, it's just kind of this repetition of the same old thing slightly differently, because that's what algorithms like. They like you to do the same thing over and over slightly differently. Don't get too brave, just stay safe, and just keep rinsing and repeating over and over again. By the way, this is a fantastic Instagram channel. It's called Insta Repeat, if you guys want to follow it. Tons and tons of these. And so I started realizing that despite my successes, I was just slowly losing relevance. For every step forward that I felt like I was taking more back. And it's this idea for me that maybe it's because at the end of the day, there's a difference between art and entertainment. I think for many, there's a number of definitions, but for me, entertainment is like junk food. It tastes really good, and you can eat a lot of it. It's not really nourishing you. Art, on the other hand, is slightly uncomfortable. It's making you see something you didn't really see before, believe something you didn't believe before, maybe challenging you a little bit. But when it comes to entertainment is more engaging. Because when it's something you like, when it's something easy, when it's something cool, it's easier to like, comment, and subscribe. So that's where the world is going. But I want to create art. And despite these changes, I still managed to do some pretty cool stuff, I think. I mean, there's this one time after I did a talk, this lady came up to me, said, hey, I found an abandoned factory in Cambodia. It's got a bunch of clothes. Do you want to do something together? And I was like, oh, cool, let's do something. I thought it would be really interesting to highlight how every single cotton t-shirt that we wear uses 2,500 liters of water. What about our entire closet? Wouldn't that be a waterfall? Along the way, I've gotten pretty lucky. Again, worked with some pretty big groups. This was with Greenpeace. They wanted to highlight how every 60 seconds a truckload of plastic flows into the ocean. I wanted to find an interesting way to talk about it. And I get Greenpeace on my bio, on my CV. And the best part about it is once in a while, I can actually get paid for this stuff. This is a campaign that I did for Dell. They're the largest electronic waste recycler in the world. And they wanted to talk about how they could use past technologies to power future ones. It's cute. It's good. I get to use my art to do good in the world. But like I said earlier, every single project sends me further and further backwards. So instead of moving forward, the better I get at what I do, the better I get at my art, I actually get worse at reaching people. So it almost doesn't matter that I'm getting better, because I'm not playing the game anymore, and I'm not interested in playing the game. You know, today they say you need to create TikToks, 1-minute TikToks. Maybe Instagram Reels. Instagram Reels is the real hot thing. And do them regularly, do them every day, keep it up. I'm just like, no, I don't want to be part of that. I want to do art. So why keep going? Why keep doing art? What do you see? This is a photo that I created very recently. It's my last project. Some of you have had the chance to see it. Paris, thanks for visiting. It means a lot. This is a giant faucet because I believe we need to turn off the plastic tap before doing all the beach cleanups and the recycling and all that stuff. If we keep producing more, it's not going to really fix the problem. During the pandemic, single-use plastic consumption went up by 250%. Year after year, it's only gone up. It's never gone down, despite increased awareness. Little guy in the front there, the yellow shirt, it's my nephew. And I think there's a world to fight for still. What you don't see behind this project is that when I created this, I created it believing that I would fail. That no matter what I did, no matter how good it was, it wouldn't reach as many people as I knew it had to. So I had within me this deep fear of irrelevancy. And I decided to lean into that fear. And I said, well, if I can't do this alone, then who can help me? How do we go from I to we? And I decided that I was going to take this faucet and open source it, reach out to a bunch of artists and say, hey, you had this thing, what would you do? And I didn't know who was going to participate. I had no idea what was going to come out of it. But I got lucky. There's some pretty cool people that showed up and did some really cool stuff. There's this guy, Pablo, all the way in Mexico. And he created an entire little miniature set so that he could put this faucet all the way in the Arctic. He had other artists come in, paint entirely over it to show what they felt was at stake. And it wasn't just one or two people, it was a whole host of them, a whole collection of them coming together. And when I think about why they participated in this, I wonder if it's maybe because they too have the same fear of irrelevancy, and that this opportunity to work together to do something was a perfect antidote for that. And so with all of you here in this room, I think that the creatives, the artists, the people who are here trying to change the world, we're probably all driven a little bit by that same fear of irrelevancy. But when we can come together to fight against that, then we can create work that together is fucking relevant. Thank you.